everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 139. Now, there's a running joke on the podcast that I play rugby, and there's a reason for that. I don't really run further than I need to catch my lunch, unless there's an egg involved. We all like eggs. Eggs are good. I have an adventurer on the show today. He's an endurance man. He runs ridiculous amounts of distance. He swims oceans. That's a small lie. And he does a lot of crazy stuff. Luke Tyburski, hello.
Hello, Ben. How are you, mate?
I'm awesome. I'm really, really good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Living life and ready to get this adventure up and going.
Luke, we have never had anyone of your, we'll say, caliber on the podcast before. We don't sort of venture into the endurance world too much, purely because it's not my background, and I suppose you tend to stick to what you gravitate towards. That's only natural. Who on earth is Luke Tyburski?
Luke Tyburski, as his mum says, is crazy but not stupid. Quote unquote, my mother. But no, Luke Tyburski is an endurance adventurer. He's a broken down footballer until 28 years of age. And then after retiring from a stop-start career, he decided to sign up to one of the toughest races in the world, the Marathon des Sables, which is 6 marathons in 7 days through the Sahara Desert. And then from then on, he decided to continue on doing ultra endurance stuff and push himself both physically and mentally, and see if he can reach new boundaries. So that's the sort of the physical side of things. But I also I write for a few magazines around the world, running and fitness and things like that. I train other clients, both running and people want to lose weight for weddings and get bigger and stronger and stuff like that. I bake all real food. I bake my own energy bars and my own cakes and stuff using nothing artificial or anything like that. And I don't take myself too seriously whatsoever. And that's pretty much me, I guess.
Nice. A man of many talents. So, like, you mentioned the race across the Sahara. We'll come to that. That sounds completely mental. What got you into adventure racing? What was the stimulus to say, yeah, I'm going to do that? That sounds like a good idea.
Taking a sidestep from life, I literally signed up to this race the day I retired from football through injury. I didn't want to face up to the fact I was 28. I had my whole life in front of me, my whole working life in front of me, and what was I going to do? So I was icing my calf that I tore while I was running, training, and for some reason this race popped into my head that my mate was telling me about a while back. And I looked at it. It was in 6 months, even though I'd never run any more than 6 miles in one go, and it was 155 in a week. I signed up to it because basically I didn't want to face the fact of, okay, I've got to make a real life, a big boy decision here, what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. So I just went, right, I'm going to sign up to this race and I'm going to trick myself and the rest of the world that, now I'm focusing on this now. Don't worry about this real life question. I'm just going to go away and play in this. So the reason why I signed up was basically to distract myself and everyone else from asking the question, what are you going to do now when you've got to grow up?
Wow. And you went in at the deep end. You thought, I'll race across one of the most inhospitable places in the whole world while sitting there playing Xbox, icing your calf. Classy.
Yeah. And then I threw on top just to and hammer out even more. I want to finish in the elite top 50, which are runners who have finished on podiums at some of the biggest ultra marathons, multiple Marathon des Sables finishes and things like this. And I'd never ran more than 6 miles in one go. And I'm like, nah, screw it, I'm doing it.
So where did you place?
Long story short, I placed 200th. I was in the top 50 after 3 days, so I was on target, but injuries. And I had an intravenous drip in the middle of Sahara Desert, which is always fun to say. I got a time penalty because of that, so that knocked me down the pecking order a little bit. But on my website, there is a film that I shot, a little documentary I made myself about the whole experience, and I'm sure all your listeners could go and check that out. Don't eat while you watch it. I will warn you, unless you've got a really strong stomach. But yeah, so I didn't quite finish in the top 50, but after 3 of the 6 stages, I was still in the top 50. So I felt like I was on track, but then the desert grabbed me, threw me around, and spat me out, and there wasn't much left for me at the end.
Okay, interesting. So you're sitting on the sofa. You thought it was a great idea. You obviously started to think, okay, what would I need to do to prepare for this? I'm going to need to start running, all that kind of stuff. When it actually came to the race and doing it, what did you not account for? Because there must be so many variables that didn't maybe cross your mind. I don't know. Most people do loads of research and they go and do altitude training and heat training and stuff. There must have been some stuff you didn't expect.
To be honest, no. As I said, I wanted to escape from the real life question of what am I going to do now. So I threw myself into this project, and that was my whole life. Like, I was training a few clients for personal training. I was doing a little bit of writing here and there, but I threw myself into this, and I was obsessed. That's something, that's using that term loosely. I was like, I think I tried 8 pairs of socks to find which one was the best one, and like 5 pairs of shorts. I knew which shorts I was going to wear, but I just kept trying them, and all these different backpacks. And I ate food for 3 days to test out if it was going to be okay while I was training and running and stuff like that. I was sleeping on my floor, sleeping outside. I was trying to do everything I could. I was running in Australia when it was 30 degrees, but wearing jackets and stuff like that. I went out there, obviously that's where I'm from, but I went out and spent 6 weeks in the middle of summer and just ran every day. So in hindsight, coming back from the desert, what would I have changed and what did I find out from the desert that I didn't know beforehand? To be honest, nothing really. The thing that got me was I couldn't replicate the actual terrain, and that's what tore my feet up throughout the race. So that's just, unless I went out to Morocco and trained there, that was the only thing that couldn't do. But I am an obsessive, compulsive person. So when I threw something in front of myself to say, right, you have to focus on this and nothing else for the next 6 months, that's exactly what I did.
Talking through all those variables that you put yourself through before the race, Luke, are you single?
I wasn't at the time. Yeah, the girlfriend at the time didn't really appreciate me sleeping on the floor next to the bed most nights for a period of time beforehand. I'm going off for a 3-week adventure to the desert, and I'm sleeping on the floor, and she's like, "Can't you come up and cuddle?" I'm like, "No, got to practice, got to get ready for the desert. 2 weeks to go." But I am now, but I wasn't at the time.
Jeez. Okay, so there's like the average endurance event. Let's say I was gonna run the London Marathon 3 times over, which I can imagine is kind of an ultra endurance event. What's different between running in that kind of climate and environment and doing it in the desert from a nutritional point of view? Because this is where my geek brain needs to start kind of kicking in and going, right, I'm interested in what you actually did. What changes when we look at this extreme environment?
Well, first of all, obviously fluid intake and electrolytes, so not just water, because we were running a cool day in the desert was 45 degrees.
Wow.
And we were topping, I think the hottest day was 53 when the messages came around in the morning and they said, yeah, checkpoint 3, you're going to get an extra bottle of water today. We all just went, right. So obviously electrolytes was a big thing. You just got to keep ticking over on those. Food-wise, see, this is where my geek brain comes in as well, because I fuel quite heavily on fat.
Sure.
I'm a low carbohydrate athlete. Because I'm an endurance athlete, I've just experimented with using foods that are higher in fat. I don't not eat carbohydrates and I don't not fuel with carbohydrates, but a lot of the stuff that I eat and it's all real food when I train and when I race, is high fat. So when you're doing this stuff through the desert, obviously you've got the heat that plays a part in your metabolic shift and the way you metabolize food. But having a higher fat content and using that density of energy that is available to you, because you're not sprinting, you're going quite slow. So if you're keeping hydrated and then you're getting this food into you on a regular basis, more regular than you would say do your 3 marathons around London, because let's say for an average temperature it's 16 degrees in London when you're doing that, I could run for 6-8 hours in 16 degrees and not eat or drink and be fine. Do that in the desert in those conditions, there's no ways. I'd have to get picked up by a truck. So I think it's the discipline of making sure you're forcing down the water and the electrolytes while you're out in the desert, but also making sure you've got that food on board, the nutrient-dense food as well, so you're not just with the increased metabolism from the heat and you actually training and actually moving for a long period of time, throwing carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates or gels and stuff into your energy system is just going to burn it like twigs on a roaring fire. So you need to throw a few big logs, which is things that are quite high fat, stuff like that.
So there's checkpoints along this race. Do you fuel or put stuff at these checkpoints, bearing in mind that some of these athletes are doing stuff differently to you? Because I'm assuming a lot of them might use a traditional approach, like a carb-loaded approach to their event.
Yeah. So the other part of this race is it's self-sufficient. So you carry all your food for the entire week in your backpack. And the only thing you don't carry is the whole week.
Shit.
So everything except for a tent, which they put up each night. It's a 2-sided tent. And you get rationed water every day. You can take more, but you get a time penalty. So you get rationed water every day. So you get water at each checkpoint. But for the entire week, all your food, all your clothes, all your personal medical needs, there are doctors and stuff out in the desert, but everything else you carry in your backpack for the entire week.
Wow. I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, fair call.
So, on this event, you've got to be burning some mega calories. Do you accept that you're going to... Do you almost kind of fatten up before you go because you kind of want to run a little bit lean in the event because you've got this weight on your back, or do you account for every calorie that goes in and out?
Well, they make you show before the start of the race a minimum of 2,000 calories a day. Like, you can't go in less than that. So as a safety point of view, which I think is cool. So, Luke Tyburski, he goes up to this race, his first race ever. He wants to finish in the top 50. It's all about minimizing weight because you're carrying weight for the whole week. So Luke Tyburski goes, right, I have to carry 2,000 calories a day. That's what I'll carry. So I ended up only taking, on average for the 7 days, 2,200 calories.
Ouch.
Yeah. I would burn more than that laying in bed all day. And let alone, running an average of a marathon basically every day for a week. So, no, I didn't really put any weight. I was a little bit bigger than the most average ultra runners because I just come off playing football. I was a central defender. I was a bruiser, so I had a little bit more muscle than most people. And I was like, don't get me wrong, my body fat was still 11 or 12%. So I was still super lean, but I had a little bit more muscle there as well. So the photos of me at the end and showing me at the edge, I do look like one of those bobblehead figurine things. Like I got a massive big head and a real little body because I've not been that lean and that skinny for such a long time. There's a few other elements why I lost so much weight as well. I did get sick. Got sick, like some sort of viral bacterial thing out there from just the insanitary conditions. But so I didn't exactly fatten up, but I know some people do. But most ultra runners know their body and they know what they need to eat, and they know that I can go out and run for 10 hours, and as long as I eat this amount of much, I'm not going to lose too much weight.
Okay, so we've kind of mentioned your nutrition in that environment. That's an uncontrollable environment. Talk about your nutrition when you control it. So right now, you're just doing training. How do you structure your diet, and what do your calories look like as well? Because I'm assuming your daily calorie intake's pretty high.
Yeah, I guess it is. I don't really count calories anymore, just because I've done that. And I know how I feel, so I know when I'm low
Hmm.
in terms of how much training I'm doing and stuff like that. And I just sort of know like the type of foods that I eat, how much I need to eat, because I've been doing this for a few years now, eating sort of a higher fat, lower carbohydrate um, diet, so to speak. So yeah, so unfortunately I can't give you numbers,
Hmm.
but my for breakfast this morning I was supposed to go for a swim, but I was just tired after I pit crewed and ran 80 kilometers on the weekend with a friend, but that's a whole nother story. So I'm still recovering from that. So this morning I had a handful of almonds and some sunflower seeds and some water and things, and went for a walk and came back, and then had a green smoothie with spinach, some hemp seeds, some coconut oil. I chucked a raw egg in there just because I had one egg left in the carton, so I thought, yeah, I'll get rid of that. Some spirulina, some ginger, some roasted garlic, fresh turmeric, and I don't know, some other stuff like that. So that was sort of my morning breakfast. And then I eat a lot of veggies. I don't eat loads of fruit because my stomach had a bit of a crazy spasm a couple of years ago. And so I had to strip it straight right down to basically I was eating broth to try and figure out what the problem was.
Hmm.
So I got rid of wheat, gluten, and dairy, and all the inflammation foods that are sort of out there at the moment. And yeah, it's really still been a battle, but I've just found that with a higher fats, fresh, sort of a lot of veggies, seeds and nuts and things like that. Some lean meat. I do eat meat, but that sort of works well for me at the moment.
Okay. You mentioned that you do eat carbs with your training and how you periodize it. When you've already listed a load of foods, which are primarily fat-based foods,
Mm.
when do the carbs come in? What's your kind of strategy?
After big sessions,
Okay.
or after sessions. So whether it's big or not, I do try and time it after that, or not that it happens very often, but if I am going to do an intense session, which I like to do the long and steady stuff, but if I do know I'm going to do some sort of intense session, then I will throw some stuff in there. So I am getting some over the day through vegetables, but I will make sure I have things like quinoa, or occasionally have a sweet potato, or different types of nuts like cashews, which have a relatively decent amount of carbohydrates in them for a nut or a seed. So yeah, I'll time that after big sessions and things like that. So occasionally a little bit of rice or amaranth or something like that, and I bake my own loaves and using gluten-free, like not gluten-free wheat flour or flour, but actually like chestnut flour, which is quite high in carbohydrates as well.
Hmm.
So I can make my own sort of, I don't call it bread because it's got no yeast in it, but it's a loaf. So using other nuts and seed flours like that can be perfect to have spread a bit of almond butter on after that, and there you go, perfect.
Nice. Okay, interesting. I think what's kind of fascinating for people that have listened is that people will be listening to what you've just said, and I think the analytical part of people will be going, "Oh, I'd probably change that. I'd probably do that. I like what he does there. That sounds interesting. I understand that." But ultimately, you've experimented with your own diet, and that's what counts. Like you've been through all the processes. You've probably been higher in protein, lower in protein, higher in carbohydrate, and you've gone, "Well, I'm doing this thing. It's high in fat. It's really, really nutrient dense by the sound of what you're doing." And it's working for you. And I think you, as a very critical individual and is always looking at their performance, would be reflective enough to say, actually, no, I'm a little bit tired at the moment. My performance is suffering. Actually, maybe I do need to start counting my intake again. Perhaps I'm not quite eating enough. Perhaps I'm not eating enough of a certain macronutrient. So I think that's just a lesson for people, and we've talked about it a lot on the podcast because we know individual variables count when it comes to nutrition. I know, for example, that there's a protein threshold, for example, that we could argue that anything more than that would be excessive.
I agree.
Exactly. So around 2 grams per kilo of body weight. Anything above, you could kind of say, well, the body's not really using that. But I personally eat about 3 grams per kilo. Why? Because there's a fat man that lives inside of me. I used to be a beast when I was younger. And I know that if I have too small a protein intake, I really struggle with satiety in my meals, even if I have a lot of fibre and a good fat content. So again, ideal-wise, you could argue that my diet isn't ideal, but I've just had to work it around how I feel my physiology works.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell people my life, I've treated my body as a science experiment, with food and training. Like last year, I always tell this story that last year I was out with a group of guys. We cycled together every Saturday morning, and they were having gels after every hour. And I'm like, no, you don't need it. You don't need a gel. We're not riding that fast. So over the time, I experimented with myself and tried to get them to sort of prolong their eating. And I got up one morning, the day before, ate normal. And obviously I was learning, I was teaching my body to be a bit more fat adaptive. And we went out, smashed a 7-hour bike ride, like we tried to hurt each other. I got off the bike straight away, put running shoes on, and went, right, I'm going to run for an hour. And I did just over 15 Ks in an hour. So I was basically sprinting for an hour and came back. All I had that day was a glass of water and then water on the bike. And that's basically the level that I got to. Like, I wouldn't recommend doing that. That was an experiment. And yes, for the next 3 or 4 days, I didn't really train and I ate. But and I knew the recovery was gonna be quite large and the deficit onto my body. But I wanted to see how far I could go, and that's basically as far as I've pushed myself in terms of not eating. But these are all the little experiments that I've done on myself with training and food, and I've tested all these different types of foods and different timings. So what if I eat a high carbohydrate meal and then not again for breakfast and then not again till the next day? How do I feel with my training day and my work day and my life and everyday life? So I have experiments. So it's not just like someone can go, oh, well, cool, I'll just start doing that. You have to slowly wean yourself off something and wean yourself onto something and just change it and feel what fits. Because how I eat and how I train, you could get someone exactly the same who trains exactly the same amount and do exactly what I do, but over 3 months try and develop him onto my diet plan, and it wouldn't work because, as you said, that's the way that your body reacts to food and uses that to metabolize to create energy. So everyone's different, but I just say try something. If you're not getting 100% out of yourself, you don't feel like you're hitting targets and you're creating personal best, just try something different.
Okay, so you are planning on doing another big event. It's the kind of one that you're working towards at the moment, which I believe is called, where are my notes, Morocco to Monaco?
It's called the Ultimate Triathlon, and it's from Morocco to Monaco.
Okay, I've got part of it right then.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, B-, yeah. What does this entail and why? Why is this one the next big challenge? Talk us through it.
Okay, what it is it's a swim bike run from Morocco to Monaco, which is 2,000 kilometers in 12 days, or the equivalent, so everyone else can understand exactly what it is. It's 400 lengths of an Olympic-sized 50-meter swimming pool, and then cycling the length of Britain, so the whole John O'Groats to Land's End, which is about 900 miles.
Yeah, fine, do that, yeah.
And then running a double marathon, so 50 miles every day for a week. So that's the 12 days. That's what it is. That's what it is, right? Now,
as before, I'm out. Yeah, I'm not with you.
Yeah, okay, cool. So that's what it is. Why? When I did the desert thing, I said, well, what am I going to do when I get older, so to speak, grow up? I'm going to be an adventurer. Didn't really know what that meant. Didn't really know how to be an adventurer. Didn't even know how you would make money or survive doing that. But I said, I'm going to be an adventurer. I need a big event that put me on the map. Now, this was 3.5 years ago, and I looked at a world map, and the Gibraltar Strait, which is where I'm swimming, sort of appeared to me, and then the southeast coast of Spain sort of came out, and I was like, oh, well, there's a little bit there to Monaco. I could run that. And that's literally how it came about. I just was looking at a world map for something big to do, something unique, and that popped out to me. So then I spent a little bit of time researching if it was possible, if you can do it, how far, how many days, blah, blah, blah. And I went, yeah, I can do this. Cool. All right, I'm going to do it. And then as an adventurer, so to speak, I've evolved as to why I do all this stuff. And the main reason is I want to live life every day doing stuff that I love doing, because we're here for a short time, and I want to inspire others to do the same, not just look at it and go, oh, wow, that's really inspiring, cool, and then turn around and not do anything about it. I want to inspire people to take action. So it's not just the fact that I want to make people feel good about life, or that, oh yeah, I could do that. I could go and do a swim in the park, or I could sign up to an art class that I've always wanted to do. So it's not just physical stuff I want to inspire people by, but I want to inspire them to actually get off their butt and go and do the stuff that they've always wanted to do, or go and do something different and push themselves out of their comfort zone and live life, which is what I do every day, because I do everything I do, I love. And that's why I'm doing the Ultimate Triathlon, because it's going to be a great test physically, mentally, and there's so many different elements to it that it's going to be good fun.
That's awesome. I love that. Now, you said you were researching it and you were looking at the sea and all that kind of stuff. It sounds like you've pieced this race together. So is it actually an organised race, or are you sort of naming a race and just going to have a crack and we'll see you swimming across an ocean?
This has never been done before.
Okay.
This is not a race. It's a challenge. It's no one's ever done anything like this. People have swam the Gibraltar Strait before. I'm sure people have cycled up and down the southeast coast of Spain, because it's beautiful cycling from the research I've done. And I'm sure people have ran different parts across the south of France. But no, this is me coming up with something unique, never been done before. I'm the first one to do it, maybe the last. So that's exactly how it came about. So there's no race to jump on. There's no race. I'm the race director. I'm the competitor. I'm the organizer. I'm everything. I will have a crew out there with me who will be following me along. There will be boats that will be shadowing me along the Gibraltar Strait, because it is one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. It's the mouth to the Mediterranean. It's only 9 miles wide. So you could imagine all the different shipping tankers that come in and out of the Mediterranean come through that gap, and I'll be swimming through there. Obviously, it's the ocean, so there could be marine life. I'm not allowed to say the S word, because my mum says I can't talk about sharks when I'm going to swim in the ocean, because for about 18 months of when I first told her about this, she thought I was swimming in a cage. And I went, no, Mum, I'm not swimming in a cage. I'm just swimming next to a boat. And she freaked out. But and then obviously the biggest thing for that Gibraltar Strait swim is the currents. The currents are rough. They're pretty bad. So it's going to be a pretty tough swim as well.
Wow, that's insane. How do you go about? I mean, the cost of this sounds immense. Have you kind of got sponsorship, like charity money? How have you gone about it? Is it self-funded?
Well, I've got a few sponsors on board already. I'm still looking for more. So if anyone has a company or anyone that wants to get on board, you can definitely get in touch. I've got different sort of sponsorship packages that are available to help out. And I've got a donation page on my websites as well, that if people want to just help out with a few pennies, it all helps. But yeah, so I've got a few sponsors and things are coming in slowly, but yeah, I definitely need a bit more to make it happen the way I want. It's going to happen regardless, even if it's just me and a mate going down there doing it across and getting from Morocco to Monaco. But the way I do want to make it happen and create it, because it's going to be a very interactive event, which we'll talk about in a minute. I do need a bit more funding to help me get across there.
Okay. Now, there's obviously all sorts of people that listen to this podcast on a weekly basis. If there is someone that owns a company and wants to help out, wants to sponsor you in some way, what benefits do they get? Because I know you're recording a lot of this. Is the whole event live?
Well, the whole event's not going to be live because I would be bored out of my mind watching,
Yeah.
not watching someone else, watching myself cycle, all this stuff. So no, so the other unique part of this is it's going to be filmed and streamed at parts throughout the day in live time and very interactive through social media. So nothing like this has ever been done before either. So I'm cutting edge in regards to doing something stupid that no one's ever done before physically, but also on a technology side of things, we're doing something that no one's ever done in this type of event. So we're going to, I've got a filmmaker who's been following me around this year and who will be out there for the last 12 days, who we're going to make a bit of a documentary at the end of it. So, and then pitch that to try and put that on some sort of TV or make a DVD or something like that. So we've got a professional cameraman. I've got editors who are professional editors, freelance editors, and basically we're going to film it, and maybe between, we're still not sure yet, 6 to 10 portions of each day, it's going to be live. So you're going to see how I'm doing. You're going to see how the crew's doing. And then I'm going to have, obviously, different like devices that I'm going to be wearing, so measuring heart rate, speed, maybe even body temperature, and things like this. So you're going to see different physiological elements of what I'm going through and how I'm pushing my body. So cyclists can see what my watts are that I'm going to have up on the website, so they can relate to that. Swimmers can see my pace, and I'm swimming through the ocean, and my heart rate and things like this. But then they can watch it. So after it's live, it's not just going to be a dead feed. There's going to be actual pre-shot footage, or say we're on day 5 and you missed day 3 because your girlfriend had to take you out for the day. You can go back and there's going to be highlights of day 3 morning, actual day 3, what happened at the end of day 3, and bloopers of day 3, stuff like that. So you can go back, click on that, watch a little 5-minute clip and get up to date. What were Luke's stats for day 3? Click on that and you'll get like a nice little spreadsheet of my heart rate, my core temperature, my speed, my distance, and all this type of stuff, elevation and all those type of things. So that's the live streaming and the filming side of things. But then on the other side of that as well, we're going to be interactive with social media always. So if you want to write me a tweet and it's good enough to get to me, the guys in the support band will let me know about this tweet, and I can say, yeah, right, tell Ben that, yeah, you got to come over here now and run the last leg with me, so to speak. So we're going to be interactive the whole way throughout each and every day. There's going to be countdown timers on different social media so people can know when it's going to go live. So it'll be like Luke's live in 3 hours. So, make sure you get there, and then other countdown timers, asking a question. If you want to ask Luke a question, here you go. So it is going to be, I say neuroscience, but really interactive. It's got to be, you feel like you're there with me. So it's almost like Luke's on Big Brother, but like a video game where you can help control me by giving me encouragement and telling me, keep it up and things like this. So it's got to be fun. But yeah, that's basically how that's going to work.
Wow, fascinating. I want to follow. Sounds not the whole way, but for people that want to kind of get involved, where do they go? What's the site? What's the resource to follow?
Yeah, so to follow the actual event when I do it will be theultimatetriathlon.co. That's its own website. It's up now. It has all the information on there. And then my personal website is luketyburski.com, and there's a little pop-up to go to the Ultimate Triathlon website there. So that's where you can get in touch with me. I've got all my details on there. All my social media is just my name, Luke Tyburski. There's only one of me on social media apparently, which is a good thing. I use Facebook and I use Twitter and Facebook and Instagram primarily. But yeah, so I am quite active on social media. So if there are companies who do want to get on board, I do a lot of pushing through social media. I do speaking as well, so I could come along to your company and talk at your events and stuff like that. There are lots of different elements that I can give to companies if they're interested in getting on board as well.
Wow. Sounds really fascinating. Fascinating. I like the fact that you've been, gone out there to kind of connect with people on a deeper level and push the boundaries of technology. We've my brother is currently involved with one of the crews doing Race Across America, RAM. And I keep sort of bugging them, like, what kind of tech? Because last year they didn't really have much technology update, and I was like, you need to get a satellite phone. You want to get like engagement with people. You want to be able to tweet. You want to be able to do all that stuff. So for you to be able to do that, I think it will create so much more buzz around the event rather than support me and then afterwards like, this is what happened.
So it's going to be, because it's not just going to be live 24/7, which would just do my head in. There's going to be all the footage that's shown live and all the footage that's going to be on those, as I said, there's 4 or 5 little portions of edits that's on the website the entire time. So you tell your friend, you should see Luke, touch wood, it doesn't actually happen, but it would make it interesting. Luke had this crazy crash on day 3 on the bike, and you tell your mate, and it's day 12, it's the last day, but you can go back and show your mate that crash. But with all that footage on there, because we're filming the whole time, when the DVD comes out, or if there's something else that comes out at the end of it, it's still going to be basically all new footage, because it's got to have so much footage there. So it's not just like, well, I've watched the whole 12 days, I've watched every bit on the website, I've seen it all. Well, you won't have seen it all, because there's stuff that won't be on the website, there's stuff that won't go live that we'll keep for later on. So I'm hoping that people can anticipate at the end of it that there's going to be something new as well, to see the whole journey into one little sort of film. And I've been filming since January this year, so we've got loads of footage already.
Nice. Okay. We talked very briefly earlier about your nutrition across the Sahara and stuff. The kind of dynamic of this event is kind of changed. You've got a support crew, you've got all sorts. How has that changed your nutrition? It sounds like you're going to be able to do a lot more to your body. You're going to be able to nourish it the whole time.
Oh yeah, totally. The biggest thing for me when I do this ultra long stuff is eating real food. I only ever eat real food now because my recovery, quote unquote, numerous therapists and friends who are in the health and fitness industry is just ridiculous. I recover really quick, and I put that down to eating real food during the events. So last year I did my first ever triathlon, which is a double Ironman distance triathlon in North Wales. So in Snowdonia National Park. It took me 35 hours non-stop. And after 48 hours, I was running up and down stairs without feeling any stiffness or soreness in my legs, no tiredness whatsoever. Obviously, I was nowhere near recovered. I still had a couple of months to be properly recovered on a cellular level. But, on a musculoskeletal level, I felt fine. And that was 48 hours after going 35 hours non-stop of hard swim, bike, run. Because I ate, and I put it down to eating all real food. So for the Morocco to Monaco challenge, I'll be eating lots of just normal food that you would eat on a normal day. I'll just be eating a lot more of it. And the things that I bake and make, like, for an example, I make a sun-dried tomato and basil ground almond loaf. So it's basically ground almonds, sun-dried tomatoes, fresh basil, sea salt, eggs and oil. Mix that up, chuck it in a baking tray, put it in the oven, boom, there you go, done. So that's something that I could bake anywhere, because all you need is an oven. You can buy ground almonds everywhere you go now, or I can take some packets with me. And then arguably you could say the basil and the sun-dried tomatoes down in the south of Spain and south of France would be better than you'd get in the UK. So, so I could bake that type of stuff there. And then lots of before and during and after the stage, I'd just be eating normal food. So my recovery will be the best that it can be, because I am nourishing my body with all the foods that I need to be having, along with the natural anti-inflammatories, which I have every day, as I said before, in my smoothie, like turmeric, ginger, garlic, and stuff like that.
Wowzers. Okay, I think one of the big complaints that a lot of endurance people make when they talk about food and training and fueling during an event is kind of the gastric issue, gastric emptying, gastric upset, that kind of thing. Do you find you get any of that? Because if I said to people, I'm going to get you to have a nut, coconut, chia, dark chocolate based bar compared to a gel, they'd go, my stomach, I'll get sluggish, etc.
There's a massive stigma out there now that, oh no, if I want to perform well, I have to have these icky, sticky gels. Well, I'll get on my little soapbox here. That's just because of all the big marketeers from the sports nutrition companies that have jammed absolutely rubbish information down our throats. You need to eat this, you need to eat that. It's full of crap. The reason they get these studies done from scientists and stuff like that, but they pay for these studies. Like nutrition companies pay scientists to find an element. Okay, you need to tell us that these bars and these gels are great, and they pay for it. So there is. This is me again. I'm a little nutritional high horse, but for endurance athletes, for the masses of the endurance athletes, the conversation will change if we're talking about people who want to win Ironman, people who want to win marathons, people who want to win. And they're basically on their red line. But for the masses of ultra endurance or masses of endurance athletes, you don't need them. You can fuel on real food, and it takes time. You've got to get your body into it. But people they shy away from it. Why don't we eat a salad for breakfast? Like literally a salad you'd have for dinner. Why don't we have that for breakfast? Because we've been told that you should have cereal or you should have toast by these people that make these products. That's what you have for breakfast, and then for lunch you have a sandwich. That's a stereotypical Western diet. It's changing now, but that's why. So why should we have gels when we're training and we're doing a 4-hour marathon? Well, that's what we've been told we should eat. But why don't you go out and find something else that suits you better, that doesn't give you GI problems? Because I went 35 hours non-stop, and I wasn't going slow. I was going, pretty decent pace. I didn't have any problems before, during, or after. My body functioned as per normal. It just didn't stop exercising for 35 hours. So, and I've converted clients, I've converted friends, and they're the same. Oh, I don't have any problems now. You can't just go out and eat what I eat. You have to experiment with foods. Like there's some foods I can't eat dates. They're quite high in sugar and stuff like that. But I've got other friends who they're eating real food. It is carbohydrates. They can smash down dates and go for a 6-hour bike ride and smash it, and they'll have half a dozen dates and they're fine. I couldn't do that. And vice versa with things like cashews. I can't eat cashews. My stomach doesn't agree, but other people can feel on that. And on cashew butter, make their own sort of gels with that. So you have to experiment. But to just stay away and go, oh no, my gut. If they've experimented the heck out of it, I would say, yeah, okay, fair enough. You need to find what works for you. But most of the time, they may have just tried it once. And of course, you put something new into your body, it's going to freak out. It's like anything, It's like if I put a gel in my body now, it's going to freak out. Vice versa. So you've got to persevere a little bit and let your body know and let it adapt and go, look, it's going to be okay. Just give me a chance here. And then you'll see if it works or not.
Yeah, the beef I have with sports nutrition products, and I've told this to most clients that I have. They're taking a recovery product, for example, after their training session, and it will be whey protein based, and then it will have like 60 grams of carbs in it, etc. And straight away, my first thought process is, okay, 60 grams of sugar. That's a lot of calories just from something that's completely naked. Replace it with a banana. Replace it with a banana and an apple. Replace it with anything. Just take real food, because my argument is, and this is why I like your stance, is that we only have a certain amount of calories we can eat every day. And every one of those calories, calorie for calorie, should be as nutrient dense as possible. And if we start wasting calories that don't have phytonutrients, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants in them, for me, we're missing opportunities. There's a big argument in the fitness industry at the moment about the application of if it fits your macros, in that you can eat whatever you want to a degree, as long as you account for your vitamin, mineral, and micronutrient status. But no one assesses that. Personal trainers aren't going, right, I'm going to send you off for a hair mineral analysis and find out how much magnesium's in your body and how much zinc and all that. That's bullshit. No one's doing that. So we're actually applying guesswork. So my logic has always been 95% of your diet, as much as possible, should be real foods, because you never know what more benefit you can get from having more nutrition in your body.
No, I agree, and that's why. Although I make all my own food and I eat only real food, but don't get me wrong, convenience for me. I'm very busy, and if I'm traveling, doing training and racing, it helps to have some sort of some sort of company that I can supply me with this type of stuff. And there's only one. There's only one company that does this stuff. It's a company called 33 Shake, and they're one of my sponsors now. And I've been using their products for over 12 months, different events, and they've only just got on board. But it's basically 33 superfood ingredients all in a package that you can use as a shake. And mate, it is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And they're made for endurance athletes, but at the same time, I have them if I'm not having a training day. I'll have it for breakfast. Chuck it in a blender with banana, some almond milk, or just water. Mix it up. Boom. They come in three flavors. The original flavor, cacao or mocha. So they have green coffee, ground green coffee beans, and raw cacao for the mocha, or just raw cacao powder for the cacao flavored shake. And mate, they're absolutely phenomenal. They really, really are. So 33 Shake, check them out, mate. You should get on board with those.
I was actually having a look at their website this morning, so I was going through the links in your email. They are an Australian-based company.
No, London.
They're London. Where are you right now?
I'm in London.
You're in London as well?
Yeah.
Oh, I just assumed. You've fucking got a silly, crazy Aussie accent. I just assume you're in Australia. And
I'm in London.
Everyone that I interview at this ridiculous early time in the morning for me, when I'm usually working, is usually Australian. They're usually like, well, because of the crazy time difference. So apologies for that.
No.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I use them out of convenience. So I went to Mallorca for a 4-day cycling trip the other week, and I took half a dozen of those because they're literally all sealed in sealed packages, so you can take a big box, chuck them in your luggage and whatever. And as soon as I finished, as I said, we talk about having a little bit of carbohydrates. There are different superfoods in there that have a carbohydrate base, but a good amount of protein, and also all the other minerals and stuff from the real food, like superfoods, so like turmeric and chia seeds and all this type of stuff. Straight away afterwards, boom, smash that down, and I'm good for a couple of hours after, and they're great. And I've had them during events as well. So during my double Ironman, I had them to test them all out, because I won't endorse the product unless I've tried and tested it numerous times. And as I said, I've been using them for over 12 months now, and I've only just started to endorse them, and they've worked wonders for me. And they also have a separate product, which is a chia gel. So they've created a little packet with a little screw top. You add water in there. There's 4 ingredients: Himalayan pink salt, Madagascar vanilla extract, chia seeds, and I always forget the 4th one. But yeah, it's 4 ingredients. Fill it with water, shake it up 15 minutes, and you get a gel. So I use them on my ultra marathons and cycling and stuff like that, and they're just convenient, and they work, and they're real food.
Wow, okay. The only thing, because I looked on the website, it described itself as a shake. It had a very low protein content. So you recommending it as a recovery strategy when we kind of know that protein is very important in the kind of exercise realm and in supporting muscle mass. How do you circumnavigate the lack of protein in that kind of product?
Well, you can always add a little bit extra stuff. It's a great convenience, and it's a great base to have.
Okay.
So no, I'm pretty sure I think they've got one portion that has 8 grams of protein. So no, it's not your stereotypical 20 grams that the body can sort of basically use at one given time, give or take, depending on who you are. But if you're looking for something quick and easy and simple to get into, then yeah, have that. Have a couple of extra nuts, and boom, there you go. You'll get that on board. So I've had great results with them, as I said to you earlier. And also, as you said, there is this whole debate of how much protein do we actually need, and how much do we need straight after, or is that whole 30-minute window an actual real window, or just something that's been made up, unless you're doing another high-intensity workout later that day. So I've experimented with doing a massive training session in the morning and not eating for an hour or two after that, and then going out and smashing it in another session 24 hours later. How did I feel? I felt fine. But if I had to smash myself again that evening and I didn't have something really in that 30-minute window, an hour window after a session, I do feel like I'm lagging a little bit. So I also, like many people in the health and fitness industry, questioning that sort of 30-minute window where you need to have carbohydrates and you have protein for recovery. Otherwise, you're not going to get as much to your body. Well, unless you're doing another big session later that day, or if you're doing a night session and then you're doing another session in the morning, if you've got a whole day and night and sort of sometime another meal the next day before you actually have to train, why can't you just get that protein or the other minerals throughout the day? So I've experimented with myself, and that's what I found for me. So you could have a shake, and then later on in the day you could, have a higher protein-based meal. And from my experience and my knowledge, I can't really see a problem with that.
Okay. I think the kind of post-workout period that, people traditionally view that it has to be a certain type or a certain groupings of food. And I think the makeup of that food could be a lot more varied than people think in terms of the ratios and the timing of it. So it's definitely a very interesting talking point, and we have covered it before on the podcast. Luke, I'm gonna wrap up. We're nearly an hour for the show. It's been fantastic talking to you. It's a very different change of pace for the podcast, so I hope people have enjoyed listening to just a different perspective, a different angle, a different kind of, we'll say character, because I think you're quite a character, which I like. It's good, it's refreshing. Too much of this fitness industry is bland, it's vanilla, and I don't like vanilla. So I need to go over your links again. Please tell people, if they want to come find you, where's the place to find you?
Yeah, to find me initially is luketyburski.com. That's my personal website.
Dude, spell that.
LukeTyburski.com. And theultimatetriathlon.co is the Challenger's personal website. And then my social media is exactly my name. Twitter at Luke Tyburski, LukeTyburski. Facebook, Luke Tyburski. Instagram, Luke Tyburski. Give me a shout, give me a tweet, write me an email. Email addresses on all my websites and stuff. I don't mind. And yeah, if you're interested in getting on board and learning more, then give me a shout and let's chat.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being on the show and sharing your wisdom.
No problem, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Nice. For anyone that enjoyed the show, please share it in the usual fashion. Give it a retweet on Twitter. Give it a like on Facebook. Share it with someone. If you've got an ultra marathon friend, if you've got an endurance-based friend, if you've got a friend, share it with them. I would appreciate it. And if you have yet to leave me a review on iTunes, please do leave me a review, because it helps the show grow. I will be back hopefully on the show next week with Rachel. If I'm not, who knows? It doesn't matter. All you know is you're going to get another good hour of high quality content. Right, that's goodbye from me. Luke.
Adios, guys. See you later.
See you soon. Hey everyone, Vancouver Radio, episode 138. Rachel, hello.
Good morning. Actually, it's not morning. Oh, it's morning for you. It's evening for me.
I know, it's always so confusing, isn't it?